Chairman Powell, thank you for being here. Thank you to you and your team for helping to save the economy during the pandemic meltdown. For what it's worth, I'm generally supportive of the actions of the Fed right now, and I'm not going to ask you today to blame anybody. When Congress spends money, it stimulates the economy, does it not?
Well, it would depend on whether that's funded by tax increases or not. But so, if there's a spending that's not accompanied by taxes, would have a net at the margin stimulative effect.
Well, and when Congress borrows money to spend even more, that stimulates the economy even more, does it not?
At the margin, yeah.
Okay. If Congress reduced the rate of growth in its spending and reduced the rate of growth in its debt accumulation, it would make your job easier in reducing inflation, would it not?
I don't think fiscal policy right now is a big factor driving inflation at this moment, but it's absolutely essential that we do slow the pace of growth, particularly for the areas of the budget.
All right, let's try to unpack this then. I'm not trying to trick you. You're raising interest rates. You're raising interest rates to slow the economy, are you not?
Yes, to cool the economy off.
And one of the ways you measure your success, other than fluctuation in gross domestic product, is the unemployment rate. Is it not?
Yes, one of the measures.
Okay. So in effect, I'm not being critical. When you're slowing the economy, you're trying to put people out of work. That's your job, is it not?
Not really. We're trying to restore price stability.
No, you're trying to raise
not wages.
You're trying to raise the unemployment rate. I know you don't like the phrase, so let me strike it. You're trying to raise the unemployment rate, are you not?
No, we're not trying to raise it. We're trying to realign supply and demand, which could happen through a bunch of channels, like, for example, just job openings.
All right, let me put it another way, okay? The Economist did a wonderful study. They looked at 10 disinflationary periods in America going all the way back to the 1950s. Disinflation is what you're trying to do. It's a slowing in the rate of inflation. Am I right?
Yes.
In other words, prices don't go down, they just don't go up as fast. Deflation is when prices actually go down. You're trying to achieve disinflation, are you not?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Based on history, in the 10 times that we got inflation down, disinflation since the 1950s, in order to reduce inflation by 2%, unemployment had to go up 3.6%. Now, that's history, is it not?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but yes, the standard has been that there have been recessions and downturns when the Fed has tried to reduce inflation.
Now, right now, the current inflation rate is 6.4%, and the current unemployment rate is 3.4%. Now, if history is right, I'm not asking you to again, blame anybody, but if history is right, unless you get some help, in order to get inflation down from 6.4% to, let's say, 4.4%, and the unemployment rate is going to have to rise to 7% based on history.
That's what the record would say.
Okay. And to get inflation down to 2.2% based on history, an immutable fact, unemployment would have to go to 10.6%. Would it not?
No, I wouldn't.
That's what the record shows. That's what the history shows.
Yeah, I don't think that kind of a number is at all in play here.
I know you're reluctant to admit it, and you don't want to get in the middle of a policy dispute. But I think it's undeniable. It's undeniable that the only way we're going to get this sticky inflation down is to attack it on the monetary side, which you're doing, and on the fiscal side, which means Congress has got to reduce the rate of growth of spending and reduce the rate of growth of debt accumulation. Now, I get that you don't want to get in the middle of that fight. But the more we help on the fiscal side, the fewer people you're going to have to put out of work. Isn't that a fact?
Please answer.
Could work out that way.
Sir?
It could work out that way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Reed of Rhode Island is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, and I'm going to call you Madam
You
Secretary.
gave me a promotion. Thank you so much.
No, I
Senator.
didn't. I'm intentionally calling you Madam Secretary because you have cabinet level status. And you're also from Louisiana, which I'm very proud of. So we claim you as our secretary. Does it embarrass you, and I know it must because it embarrasses me, this is not a loaded question, that the federal government continues, as we have for a while, to send money to dead people? And they cash the checks.
You and I have talked about this a couple of years ago, and of course, we should not. That should not be happening.
Well, here's what I'm hoping that the administration will take a look at. During the stimulus period, when we were trying to keep our society on its feet, we sent out checks to we sent out $1.4 billion worth of checks to dead people. And they were cashed, obviously fraud. And as best I can tell, we don't know for sure, but we send out between $1 and $2 billion of checks a year continuously to dead people, and they're cashed, obviously fraud. We passed a bill that said Social Security, which gets the information about who's alive and who's dead from the states, has got to talk to the Department of Treasury to make sure that its do not pay list includes people who are dead. It was a shame we had to pass a bill to implement common sense, but nonetheless we did it. But in order to get the bill passed, I had to make some compromises. I can't imagine anybody would be against it. We're going to start doing that on December 23rd of this year, but it's only for 3 years. And the Government Accounting Office says we ought to make it permanent. And I'm going to try to make it permanent. And I really wish, I'm not going to ask you today because I know you have to talk to the president, but if you could talk to the president and try to get a commitment to let's pass that.
I will. One of the things that was shocking to me is Treasury in the last administration and this list from Social Security had to develop a MOU to even share this database, and you would think it would be easy to do that. So I support you. I'd also ask you to work with us. We have a fraud proposal in the budget.
Happy to.
That make sure IGs have what they need. Make sure we go after fraud in the UI system, where we saw transnational crime syndicates, frankly, take advantage of the system. So I'd love to work with you on that as well.
Yeah. Another area I'm hoping the administration will look at, we're spending a lot of money to send pharmaceutical drugs to certain hospitals at really, really low prices. The idea being, of course, that those hospitals will pass that savings on to people who are less fortunate economically than you and me. Mm-hmm. There's just one problem. There's no requirement that the hospitals do that. And some of those hospitals, I think it's called the 340B program. Some of those hospitals are going, thank you very much, federal government, for giving me these cheap drugs, and they're turning around because dollars are fungible and basically selling those drugs for a profit to paying patients. And we're spending billions on this. It makes no sense, Madam Secretary. I really wish y'all would take a look at that.
Happy to. We just had a long discussion about healthcare costs, and I'm happy to work with you in your office on this and bring in HHS and CMS to the conversation.
Okay. My last question, I noticed, I listened to one of the president's press conferences, and he said nobody, no middle income people